Welcome to the Morning Route Podcast. I am your host, Shane Johnson. We've got something for transportation pros, educators, parents, and everyone who appreciates the important role school buses play in our education system. So grab your favorite cup of coffee and let's hit the road. Hey, welcome to the Morning Route Podcast. Got a special guest with us here this morning, Jenna Fromm. Welcome.
Thanks, Shane.
You are podcast number 001.
Woo-woo.
I know.
I actually saw the 001 and I thought you kind of undershot yourself. I thought maybe it should be 00001.
That's a lot of zeros. And isn't that what we say? It's just zeros?
It's just zeros.
That's when you started. Remember, we even started with that. It's just zeros.
Yeah.
Yeah,
or
sure.
It's an onion.
Oh, boy. Yeah. There was a lot of onions. A lot of onions. We might even peel some of those here today. So
We
who knows?
might do that.
But hey, welcome. For our guests, Jenna, you just want to quickly introduce yourself and share a little bit, just a tidbit about you, and then we're going to dive right in.
Absolutely. I am Jenna Fromm, CEO and co-owner of Palmer Bus Service, where we serve our communities by safely transporting students.
Awesome. Thanks for that. You became President, CEO in December 21st of 2015, correct?
That is correct.
So we are going to be pushing 9 years here, just coming up in a couple weeks.
I know. Blink.
When you look back, obviously you grew up, right? Your dad started the company back in 1974, 75. So you grew up, but you graduated high school, you left, you got your teaching degree, you went into teaching, and you taught for how many years?
I taught off and on in the classroom to start with for 4 years, and then started to have a number of children. So transitioned out of the classroom, but sort of back into a fitness studio classroom.
So, yeah, basically stay-home mom-ish?
Yes, stay-home mom-ish. Teaching group fitness.
Okay.
It was awesome because I could plug my kiddos in the childcare and take home my whole $15 an hour
There you
that
go.
I was
You're
making
rocking
at the
it.
time. I was.
Don't spend it all at once at the same place, right?
That was fantastic with the built-in daycare there. And then I helped my husband with his business. I'd come in and do some payroll stuff, clean the bathrooms, do that kind of work, whatever I could to be useful.
So the call came 2015, December. Hey, we got this thing, right? It's called the bus company.
Yeah.
And you had to step up.
Yep.
What was it? What went through your head? Just like, again, you grew up in it, but you were away from it for a long time, and all of a sudden, here it is.
I do not mean to sound grandiose in telling this story. And what came into my head was when Moses was out in the wilderness and he came across the burning bush, and the Lord spoke to him and said, I have this task for you. This is what I need you to do. And Moses said, I can't do that. I don't have the ability to speak. I don't have the ability to do this. That was really on my heart at that time. And I was convinced that I was supposed to do this, irregardless of how unprepared, inadequate, ridiculous it was. And I truly believed that God wanted me to do this, and he would give me what I needed to be able to do it. And it wasn't going to be about Jenna and what she could do, because that was pretty much a joke. More about really what he could accomplish through me.
I would say it has worked out very well from 9 years ago to today. It's pretty amazing. I've been honored to be on the trip with you for these past 9 years. It's been pretty awesome. And as you said a couple minutes ago, it's been an onion. A lot of things to peel back and look at and do over, and what were we doing, right? And but it's been fun at the same time.
Yes.
It's been, in my opinion, just an incredible ride.
It really has.
Yeah. So, again, in your seat, what has been the biggest, oh, wow, I did not know that? Stepping into it. Like you stepped into this thing and it's like, wow. Holy
I remember
smokes.
taking a tour in the vehicle with you. I think I was in your truck at the time. And I think it was Little Falls in particular. We drove into the lot and you go, you know what? You own this.
You own this. I remember. I think I probably said that several times on the drive around tour.
Yes.
Showing you the real estate, so to
Yes.
speak. Yeah. It was pretty neat. I have to share this story because this is a great story. So I think probably the night before we were grabbing a bite to eat, and
I knew this was coming.
well, then there you go. But what a great story, right? That's what it's all
Yes.
about, is stories. And we're out to eat at a Mexican restaurant, and I would have to say you were probably famished from what I saw, anyways. It was the biggest burrito I think I've ever seen, and you crushed it. You literally crushed this burrito, and I think I ordered just a couple tacos.
Yeah, and you had one left on your plate.
Yeah, and you were eyeing it.
I was.
Yeah, and you might even got it. I have no idea. I don't even remember, but it was pretty impressive. But yeah, again, just a fun story, right?
Yep.
Looking back, and again, what a ride. But I have a question. So a few years back, I should say more than that, probably about, I'm going to guess about 6 to 7, you came into the conference room with Chris and I, and you said, I have these core values. And there's 5 of them. I'll let you share what they are, but I guess my question is this: where did they come from? What inspired you? These 5 things were going to be really the foundation, the cornerstone, if you will, of Palmer Bus Service. And again, for where we started with them to where we're at today, and again, the importance of them, because I will say this, I think it's true, and I hope people that listen to this today take something from this piece. I think we've all seen it where we walk into a building, into a company, and there's the vision statement, or maybe there's the core values, whatever they're calling it. And it sounds good. It reads nice, but then that's it. There's no follow through within the company itself. Not saying it's a bad company, not bad people, anything like that. But again, sharing where they came from, the importance of, and maybe you sharing with other leaders in the industry, whether it's a school bus company or not, the why of it and the practice of it.
Thanks for that question. You know that I can rattle on forever about our values.
So much time.
All right. I'll try to contain myself.
That's all right.
They came from reading the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. I had been at a place in time where I was trying to figure out how to do this job, what to do, where to begin. As I had stated earlier, feeling completely inadequate. And someone had recommended, Ken Harsty had recommended the book Good to Great by Jim Collins. I read the book. I studied it backwards and forwards, inside and out, filled probably about a notebook with notes. And that piece of it really shone through to me, to have the purpose of your company. What is it that you're all about? What is that mission that everybody is about doing every day? And then how you go about doing that. What is the code of ethics? What is the culture that everybody respects and acts according to? Then it was time to look at, what are those going to be? What does that mean? Well, we haul kids, the most precious cargo. So safety is a no-brainer. It must be number one. So safety and quality of service are essential. Next, integrity. We have integrity in our ethical in our business. If safety didn't have to be number one, integrity would be. I felt like in a classroom, you get to set the tone for a classroom, right? How do the kids act? What is acceptable? Do we do potty mouth in here? Do we allow disrespect to other students in here? And you need to have those guidelines. Along came core value number 3 with dignity, right? We're going to treat each other with dignity and as an individual. Number 4 is help. We're a business family and we help each other. And last, we do a lot of gravel roads, a lot of small communities. Schools are truly at the heart of the small communities, and we help those schools go. We get the kids there every day.
Yeah.
Those 5 just, and I talked earlier about God will give you what you need, and I think he really helped me with that. They have shown true And people like to make things really complicated a lot of the time. The reality is it's just not that complicated.
Right.
What are we here to do? We're here to safely transport students. That's how we serve our communities.
That's the mission.
Servant heart, right? And then how do we go about doing that? So as each of our employees, each of our managers, each of our mechanics are going through their day, I want the forefront of their brain to be thinking about safety, integrity, dignity, help, community. And it helps simplify every single decision and action that needs to be taken. And in that way, it empowers everybody
Right.
to act without micromanagement because they understand the bigger picture of what we're trying to do.
Yeah, and I think you just hit on something that I think is really important. With the core values, to me, the nice thing is, or the easy thing is, when we have to sit down with somebody and just say, do a course correction, right? They're just out of line a little bit with one of them. Let's just use integrity. It's really simple when you sit down with that person and go, hey, let's talk about your actions or your words, whatever that might be. And how does that line up with integrity, right? Our second core value. So the nice thing is that it removes you from it. Say, this isn't me and it's not personal. It's talking about them and the parallel with our core value, right? So it removes that element of making things personal. And I have found that very helpful. And I've heard that from managers that we have throughout the years as well, that when they have to sit down with an employee, they can just simply look at the core value and then they have that conversation. So it never makes things personal, which is really nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe it's also a really great psychological tool. As human beings, we have a desire to be part of the group. It's part of us.
Right.
It's ingrained in us.
That's the DNA.
And when you have core values, it means that this is our group and this is how we function.
Yeah.
Now, if someone is behaving outside of those core values and it's pointed out to them, that doesn't feel good,
Right.
because it means they're separated from the group. And then the desire is to come and be safe, part of the group once
Back in
again.
it. So that really taps into what I'd like to talk about next is our culture, right? So you got the 5 core values, we got our foundation, we got our base, which ties directly into the culture. And with the culture is this: it's really hard to find people, right? And then it's even more difficult to find the right people. So we have a saying, and it's not ours, but it was stolen from somewhere: right people, right seat, right? And so
That's Collins again.
there you go. So it is, if you don't mind, take a minute or two to talk about that again, from being in your position as a CEO, finding the right people for the right seat. And again, what something that we do here, how could that be helpful to somebody that's listening today?
I think 2 things come to the forefront of my mind. Number 1 is that you want to be extremely clear about who you are, who our company is, what is important to us, what we value, and that isn't going to be a fit for everybody.
Right.
And that does not mean that there is a single thing wrong with somebody that doesn't fit here. It just means that they can clearly assess who we are, what it is like to be here, and then choose for themselves if it's something that they would like or not.
Right.
So
Yeah, no, and that's exactly right. I think it's probably, for me, my equation that I do is, being a military person or even a sports person, is that you could have the best wide receiver, but if that wide receiver is I want the ball 100% of the time, it just doesn't fit on the team. You might have the best wide receiver, but the team is not so good. So again, it's finding that right person, right seat, that then forms with the team itself, right? Because you want everybody rowing in the
Same direction.
same direction, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
I remember watching the Houston Rockets years ago. They just had a star-studded cast, and they were horrible. They
Just
were
weren't gelling.
horrible.
Yeah, just didn't gel.
No,
Yeah.
everybody was the man.
Yeah, doing their own thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was horrible to watch.
I'm not a basketball person, but I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about there. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Again, it's imperative, right? Find the right people, right seat. And I think we have found ourselves, not a lot, but many times over the years, having a really, really good person, right? And we've sat back maybe over in your office and we've said, hey, this is a good person. We don't want to lose them, but they're not successful what they're doing here. Is there something else, right? And if you don't just maybe take another minute and maybe share, again, if this is helpful to somebody else, because you don't want to lose good people.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What's that conversation sound like when you have to go to that employee and say, hey,
I think when we have the right person, it means that they're a core value fit. So we've got the right person. However, and this is, I take responsibility for that. I've put them in the wrong seat. That's on me, right? We need to align their abilities, their capabilities with the right spot in the company to get them in the right job. It's a simple conversation with somebody, clear as kind, that's Brene Brown,
right,
speaking to them about, you know what, we offered you this job, you've been doing it, you are a stellar individual, you are somebody that we definitely want on our team, you're a complete core value fit. And in this, I've made a mistake and I haven't aligned your talents where they're supposed to be.
And I think, though, too, if I can push back a little bit on that.
Oh, of course you can.
Okay, thank you. It's sometimes it's not about making a mistake. I think that we have actually a few times we created a position.
Yes.
With the looking ahead, hey, we don't have this right now, but if we do this and we create this, that's going to get us to X, right?
Yep.
So sometimes it is doing that piece as well.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I find it easier, especially in moving somebody, to take responsibility, especially if it's not going to go, maybe it's not going in the direction the person thought it was going to. And if someone needs to accept responsibility,
Right.
I find it usually goes much better because ultimately it is my responsibility.
Yeah.
And I love that you're always very kind to me when it comes to that, but you've got a book that I'm looking at right here that says Extreme Ownership.
Right.
And
Great book.
I
Must
take
read.
that seriously.
Yeah, it is. I say to you many times, joking, but not joking. So you wanted to own a bus company, right? And there's a lot of weight that you carry. And
Never alone.
never alone, but it's the captain of the ship. So again, I find it refreshing, again, that when we look at that and we're evaluating people and the culture of the company is, sometimes it is like, hey, we miss this and that's not that person's fault, right? And what can we do with that? And it's sometimes moving or recreating, making new, which I think is pretty awesome. Yeah.
And what gives me incredible joy is seeing somebody doing what they were made to do.
Yeah.
Like they were knit together to do this particular job, this particular task.
Right.
And to see them engaging in that activity and doing it, it's like watching an Olympic athlete, right?
Yeah.
But I get to do that, seeing different people with different roles in our company living that out.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting watching somebody go.
Yeah.
I agree with that. So I think another piece too that I just wanted to touch on that I think is really important that sometimes my opinion, I see companies miss, that you have the culture, right? Which is, it's internal, but there's also an external piece of that. And what I mean by that is maybe vendors, right? Who you associate yourself with. And I think that one thing that I think we've done really, really purposeful about here that I think could be helpful to other people as well is aligning yourself with people. So we have our core values. Does this vendor, what are their core values and how do their core values line up with your core values? So if you want to just touch on that for a minute, like kind of what we do, what our process is.
Shaper is a great example of a partner that we have. And I'm very fortunate that I have people on my team like Brian Lynch and yourself, Shane Johnson, that go out and really get to know people in the companies, like in your areas with fuel and operations, to see who's a good fit with us, who matches with our values, who has integrity, who lives by these things, and they're not just a plaque on the wall, but it's authentic and true. And we experience it in working with them. So a lot of that isn't even something that I have anything directly to do with. It's things that our team know. They know what our DNA is, and like attracts like.
Right. Yeah. I think, again, to me, it's the importance of, and I just want anyone that's listening here today, a business owner out there, a company, whoever, somebody in operations or financials, is, I think, again, it's critical. I think something gets lost. And yes, you have to look at the financials, right? You have to look at the bottom line. That's very, very important. You have to watch every nickel that comes through. But sometimes, is it worth it, right? That you're lining yourself up with somebody to save $1, and it's just a disaster, right? The customer service isn't there. The follow through is not there. You put in 10 phone calls, and after the fifth or sixth one, you're hoping that they'll call you back, right? Type of thing. So again, it's finding those vendors, those partners that, again, you just line up, that sometimes it's worth a little bit more to make sure you get that phone call, or that you get that email, you get that follow through when it's really needed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So with that, so I think something that's been really neat that has happened this past year here at Palmer Bus Service. Again, I think everything goes back to our core values. I don't want people to forget about that. But the things that we've had to do or get to do purposefully over the course of the last, 5, 6, 7 years has, I guess there's been a little bit of fruit that's come from it. This past year, we were the NSTA Contractor of the Year. We got an award there, which was, kind of a cool thing. Want to speak on that just for a second and what that meant to you when you found out that Palmer Bus Service, National School Transportation Association of the Year Contractor?
It's hard to believe when that comes through that little old us in Minnesota is receiving this award. And it came about because of the people we have working for our company. And I do not say this because, it's the right thing to say. This is what the owner is supposed to say. That is not why I'm saying it. I am saying it because we have an amazing team of people that do their job in each of the roles that they have with incredible dedication, with passion, with engagement. A big piece of getting this award was due to Brian and Shane looking into alternative fuels, different options for us as electric buses are coming towards us. And unfortunately, we're seeing the challenges that make it not realistic at this point in time. What are the other options? And looking into Brian with fuels and Shane with operations, propane, and what can be done with that. And then finding longevity with the Cowfart bus, where they were able to retrofit with this RNG tank, improve diesel consumption, so many things that make so much sense and are practical, positive solutions that are implementable today.
Yep.
So that kind of thinking and willingness to step outside, try something new, not just accept like sheep where everything else is going. And honestly, I had no part in any of that, right? It's wonderful to see people freed up in their areas where they have their talents. And what I was saying earlier, those are the things that bring me the greatest joy.
Right. Yeah, it is cool. And thank you for your humbleness there. But again, I'm a military person, so everything starts up here and it flows down. So, your leadership is important for everybody here at Palmer Bus Service to do their roles, right? And I think you're really good at that of, again, hiring the right people, right seat, and then letting them get to work, right? It's important for us to get out of the way.
100%.
Right?
That's
So,
what was in my head as you were
it-
talking. I'm like, you just got to get out of the way.
And I'm in the same boat. It's like I have a team, and I just get out of the way and let them go. And I think the cool thing is that when you do that, I do that, we see our people just so motivated.
Yeah.
Right? It's like they have liberty to go and do it, right? And of course they're going to make mistakes, and that's part of learning. As long as something's not critical,
Yes.
it's like, hey, it's okay. We can right? We can fix that. We can.
It gives people purpose.
Absolutely.
And they can see that they make a difference.
Yeah.
The fact that they show up has impact.
Yeah. And again, to me, that's a direct reflection of winning that award, is our people doing what they do and what they did, and it's being recognized by our peers in the industry, which is really cool. Because I agree with you. I think that evening at the table, when I looked at the brochure that was sitting on there, and I saw her name on there, and I was like, my brain wasn't computing it. Like, this doesn't read right, type thing. And then other people see it, and congratulations are already coming around the table that we were sitting at. And I was like, this doesn't make sense, right? Like you said, we're
A little surreal.
Yeah. But it's, again, just reflecting back, it's neat to see people in our industry recognize us for that. And then along with that too was TransFinder. Big shout out to Trace Johnson there that takes care of all our routing and technologies. But we're the first contractor to win that award given out by TransFinder this past year too. So again, here's our people doing their thing, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. And that award is more of a cultural award where they do a survey. And the most important thing for me, big picture, overall goal is for this to be a great place to work for people who want to work. And that award basically comes with saying that our folks believe that this is a great place to work for people that want to work.
I would agree with that. Yeah. So, again, just it's neat this past year, right? It's kind of like, wow, again, just 9 years ago to where we're at today. So just a huge cultural shift here for us. So with that, Jenna, too, what do you see yourself as your most important role? Of course, you have the title, president, CEO, co-owner, all those things. But when you get up in the morning, you're looking in the mirror, say, so what is it? What's your most important role here to lead people?
I want to be useful and to have purpose. I want to serve the people in this company and do the best that I can for them.
Well, for what it's worth, I think you do a great job. I think I could probably speak for everybody at Palmer Bus Service for that. Again, let's go back to this just for a second. Again, I think it's really important that obviously you cast the vision, right? What is it? Where is it? And then just inspire people after that, right, to go. And let's roll. So, I think, and you do that. So thank you for that. Shifting gears here then just for a little bit. In our industry, just looking ahead, what are some obstacles? I know you touched on EV a little bit, and not saying you have to talk about EV, but what do you see some obstacles being in our industry, either right now that are impacting us, or maybe, hey, these are things are on the horizon?
In the state of Minnesota, in particular, where we operate, we have had some very challenging legislation come through starting in 2023. We had an unemployment law come through where now all of our drivers, part-time staff, along with any school staff, qualify for unemployment over the summer months. That's created some new challenges. The biggest challenge with it is it went into effect on May 28th of 2023, which meant that summer came and we quickly had to do some gymnastics to try to figure out and make that work. Speaking with our HR, Brian Wangan, it's interesting because the unemployment department often talks to us and is like, oh, we don't have that on our website. Oh, we need to update this. And it's been interesting walking through this with them as they try to accomplish something that they weren't ready to do either.
Right. I think, it's one of those things, and thinking about that, but it seems to happen more times than not. My opinion, but I do believe my opinion is probably pretty close to being right on this, is that you have people making legislation and in laws or policy, and they don't pull in the stakeholders and ask, like, how will this affect you? And so I guess my question to you then is, what can we do going forward, recognizing, hey, a couple of these things, that came through here in the last year in St. Paul had a really dramatic impact on our industry. And so what is it that we can do going forward to, maybe better shape policy?
Absolutely. A couple of things. None of us have control. What we do have is influence. As the student transportation industry comes under trucking, sometimes it's difficult to have too much voice in that area. However, education has a fairly strong voice. I try to meet each October with all of our superintendents individually, go and sit down, see how things are going for them, and then also bring forward some concerns that we have politically, where things are going, some challenges that we face. Interestingly enough, a lot of the challenges we face are shared by our superintendents, but maybe with a little bit different angle that they wouldn't normally think of. So speaking with them and getting them to bring these issues forward in their different organizations, such as MESA, the Superintendent's Organization, MREA, Rural Education Association, also the Business Managers Association. So trying to get some attention through education towards things that really affect busing.
Right.
The other piece is, and I'm learning more of this as maybe hitting a different layer of the onion as we go through, trying to get good at getting in front of people that have much more influence than I do and telling our story, making it real for them so that they can understand the effects. I believe our lawmakers want to do the right thing. And if they don't have the information they need to do the right thing,
right,
that's on us.
Yeah. And I agree with that. I really, really agree with that. And you are so right, Jenna, in that if we don't say something and we're not out there advocating, they're not going to know. Right. And it does fall back on us, right, to kind of have to constantly take that spoonful of medicine. But again, we have to advocate for us. And I look at this, I've been asked by a few people, I guess maybe this is a good time to share this, like, where did the name come from, the morning route? And as I was kicking this thing around, as you know, right, because I had conversations with you, it was when you think about the morning route in our industry, right, that's go time, right? It is that yellow school bus that's getting out on the road early in the morning. And, our site managers come in 5 a.m., 5:30, 6 a.m., open up shop, get the coffee going, right? Because no route does not happen without coffee,
No, it
right?
just...
That's just what it is in our industry. But parents are waiting for the school bus. Students are waiting for the school bus. Faculty at the school then is waiting for the school bus to show up and safely deliver students, right? So there are literally millions of people every single day, just in Minnesota, that are so dependent on the yellow school bus, right? So if you multiply that out, you think about what we have to do, right? To really make things go, because the bus doesn't show up. A lot of parents are stuck at home, right? And then that affects, right, what they're supposed to be doing, their job in their factory, their business, if they can't get there. So again, just advocating, telling people, hey, this is what we need to make this bus leave in the morning, right? This is what we need to take care of our people, our employees, right? So again, just having those conversations with the right people.
Absolutely, Shane.
Yeah. So that's where the morning route came from, right? I think without us, it would handicap, fair to say, a lot of people, a lot of families.
Yes.
Yeah. So with that, a question just off a little bit, more of a fun question. What do you think, looking back again 9 years to where we're at, what is your greatest achievement so far here at Palmer Bus Service? If you had to just pick one thing, like, hey, and I don't mean it in a prideful, boastful way, but just like, you know what, I'm really proud that in the past 9 years, you've done many things, but if you just, I only can pick one thing. What is it? What would it be? Silence. Thinking.
Yes, I am a crockpot. On a podcast, you're not supposed to have silence, but rather than fill it with a
You're thinking.
verbal
That's fair.
pause, yes.
Yeah.
I believe this is a great place to work for people who want to work.
Yeah.
And I want to keep going with that and make it better. It's never anything where, oh, we've arrived. I do feel like I have purpose and I'm useful.
Yeah.
And I get to do something in life that matters.
Yeah.
Outside of my family, right?
Right.
Because that's a huge part, extremely important to me. And it's really amazing that not only do I get to do that, I get to do this too.
Yeah.
With people I really like.
Yeah, most of them.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I like pretty much everybody,
Yeah,
Shane.
you do. I can honestly say this about you. And as you know, I'm not an ass kisser, so I don't.
No, I'm well aware.
Okay. But it's really neat because I can honestly say that you're a person that when you ask somebody, hey, how are you doing? You truly are asking them and
know.
you truly want to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, it's that culture piece, right? And it's not fake. It's not phony with you. You really want to know.
Of course.
Yeah.
And it always surprises me that other people don't.
I would, but I think we would agree most people, and I would
suppose.
fall into the most people camp. When we say, how are you doing? I really don't care. It's that thing that we do, right? Hey, how are you? Right. And all of a sudden somebody starts dumping and it's, oh my God.
Okay, I actually have a story for this one.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in a home with two sisters had severe disabilities, and my mom dealt with a lot, right? My dad's out building his empire and road warrior. My mom was home with 4 kids, 2 with severe disabilities. And one day, one of the church ladies had said, how are you doing? And my mom was having a particularly difficult day, and she told her, and the lady turned around and left. And my mom said to me, you know what? People ask, but they really don't care.
Right.
I have never forgotten that.
I was just having a conversation right before this with Kathy, who's standing over here to my left. And I said, because I have up here, nobody cares, work harder thing, right? And Kathy's, oh, I love that. And I said, have you ever heard the saying, like 80% of people don't care about your problems, and the other 20% are glad it's happening to you and not them, right? So it's in line with that.
Yes,
right?
well, my sweet mother also, I have
Grandma
this story.
Lois.
Yes, Grandma Lois. We're driving down the road one day, and we passed this terrible accident. And oftentimes we do that. Like I say to the kids, okay, we're going to pray for those people. And my mom goes, that's nice of you. I just always thank God it wasn't me.
See?
Yeah, I know.
See, I'm glad it wasn't me. Yeah, at least she's being honest.
She was
right?
very
Yeah,
honest. Yep.
So, switching gears, and we're going to start winding down here, but something I just wanted to ask about too was contracts, and not to get into really the weeds of it or anything. But, you know, yourself and Chris, who's our CFO, you guys negotiate the contracts with our school districts. And just want to, I guess, ask or throw out or whatever that is way back when the state of Minnesota had 2 pots. And, you know, they had their transportation fund, which those dollars went right to the, you know, transportation, you know, part of it, the school buses. And then you just had your general fund that went to education. And as we know, several years back, they just lumped those 2 pots into one. And this isn't my area, so I might use some words here that are not correct or whatever, but basically the fight is on when you go in to negotiate, if you will. And I don't mean that in a negative way towards districts, right? Because they're trying to maximize their dollars for the classroom, but then there's still the yellow school bus side of it that needs done. If you just had, you know, a couple things like, hey, if you could sit down with a policymaker, I guess, somebody in St. Paul and go, hey, here's a recommendation or 2 that's fair to the district, to the superintendent, to the school board, to the parents, to the students, but it's also fair to us contractors that, again, the morning route, we got to get kids to school, right? And that's what we're here to do safely. So again, if you just had that moment where you could sit down with somebody and have some influence, what would you have a recommendation or two?
I would ask that transportation fund be put back in place. I know districts are very frustrated with it as well, especially districts that have widely spaced out students or lower enrollment. It's very challenging for them, and they would love nothing better to have a pot of money that can go towards transportation and not have to spend as much of their general fund budget on it.
On that.
I think that really sitting down and understanding where school districts are coming from, how legislation affects them, what challenges they face, and then seeing how we can partner with them to improve their experience as well is key. I really talk about, people like to say, sit down across the table from someone. I go, no, let's sit down at the table together and figure out how might we make this work. I understand what you are trying to do. You're trying to educate these kids. We need to get them here to you. You need us and we need you. So how does this look and how might we?
Yeah.
Those are the conversations I like to have.
Yeah. No, and I appreciate your insight to that. And I would say you're probably, my guess would be pretty close to being accurate. I would see most contractors out there probably echoing your opinion on that. Again, just probably, again, time is money, right? And when you guys have to go sit down with a superintendent or school board, my guess is it doesn't just a one and done. It's probably several layers to that, right? Several meetings. You guys are going back and forth. Time is money. So how many resources are, I don't know if the right word is wasted, but wasted even on a school district side where, again, if there was that set amount where, okay, this is it, these are the dollars, you're probably done in 15, 20 minutes and everybody can get back to work.
It's hard to even imagine that. But that's where you come in, because you can always picture or see things that are beyond where we are today.
Well, I don't know about that, but I'll say thank you, but I'm not sure about that.
Yep.
Yeah. But no, thanks for your insight on that. And again, my hope is that at some point you're able to have that conversation with somebody. And if I can help in a way to get a policymaker to sit down here, I will definitely have you a part of that and maybe be able to, again, have some influence, right?
Thank you.
Maybe we can get there.
I think we can.
I think we can too. What's next for Palmer Bus Service?
What is next? I believe that in our industry in particular, I think we're going to be seeing more and more specialized transportation.
Yeah.
I think that's the way that things are going. The black and yellow is iconic. It will still be there. And I believe the vans and the individual transportation for different programs will be more complicated and more extensive.
Yeah, I agree with that. In my years of being in the industry, the amount of specialized transportation has just, it continues to grow year after year after year. And I know that there's actually been, it's kind of funny. I think in Minnesota, there's actually a conversation, and it's a light conversation, but of like, I don't know about these vans, right? We really want to transport kids on yellow school bus, which is safer, right? But there's so many students that need that one-on-one, like just the van service, the Type 3 service. I just don't see it going away, and I think it's going to continue to grow.
It's once again someone maybe not fully understanding the problem and trying to do something in the name of safety to solve it.
Yeah.
And the repercussions are kids aren't going to get where they need to go because you're going to need CDL drivers for all of those vehicles. And if you go to a green standpoint, now you've got buses running, which take more fuel. Yeah, you want to pull on one string of a problem, and there's always 50
over here. Yeah. If you move this, it's going to obviously affect this, right?
Yep.
And that's what it is, and that's what makes it. I guess that's what makes it fun, right?
Yes.
Like to me is the chaos part of it, and trying to figure out the ins and outs of it. So thank you for allowing me in my role here at Palmer Bus Service to be able to do that part of it. So that makes it fun for me.
I am glad it is. I usually have a really good time with you, Shane.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So ditto. So let's do this. The most important question that I'm going to pitch is here at the very end of all of it. Here on the morning route, if you had the opportunity, it could be somebody today, it could be somebody from 50 years ago, 100 years ago. if you had the opportunity to sit down with one person and maybe it's that person that's influenced you, you read a book by them, you heard a quote by them, but has inspired you to really who you are today, who would you love to sit down and have that one cup of coffee with and just say, hey, I appreciate you?
Abraham Lincoln.
Okay. Share.
He came into a leadership position at an incredibly difficult time in our nation's history. Had a quarter of the vote. So you want to talk about not having the majority of people happy. Backwoods, self-educated, known a lot of sadness, defeat, struggle in his life. I really appreciate his approach, his simple approach, not putting on airs, telling many down-home stories, using a lot of humor. Many people judged him as a illiterate buffoon, inviting people to be in his cabinet that had many opposing views to what he thought, because he truly sought to understand. He wanted to completely understand all sides of the issue, all perspectives, so that he was prepared.
Yeah.
They took a impression of Abraham Lincoln's face. I believe it was about a month before he was assassinated. And I saw this in Springfield at the Lincoln Library. And his face actually resembled a death mask that they would use at that time. A lot of those pieces are really sad. And Lincoln had purpose. He had influence. What he did echoes through history, and it wasn't about him. The purpose he served was greater than him, and he sacrificed himself to that end because he saw that as what he needed to do.
Yeah. No, that's that would be a great person to sit down with and just have a conversation with. I agree with that. It wouldn't be my person, but I agree with everything that you said. Truly put people and a nation before self-interest. And like you said, I think that's something a lot of people don't know, that a lot of his cabinet choices were people that were in direct conflict with what he wanted to do or try to do, right? So it was surrounding himself with people that were just not all yes people. And I think that's really important as leaders of companies and businesses to get different voices around you sometimes to hear, okay, that might not be a good idea, or that may be a different direction. Yeah.
So if Lincoln is not your person, Shane, who is yours?
My person, this is going to, I hope it doesn't sound bad, but it would be my grandfather on my dad's side.
Why would that sound bad?
Well, because it's one of those things like, wow, your grandpa, right? Of all the people, type thing. But for me, it's, my grandpa was shot up in World War II on the island of Okinawa. And obviously I remember, I have memories of my grandpa, and, I'm like 7, 8 years old, that type of thing. But I didn't understand the history of World War II, obviously at that point. I knew he was, in the Great War, World War II. But at that age, you have no idea, right? You just don't know. So again, if I could go back and maybe have more of an adult mind about it, but to actually hear the stories. And that was a generation that didn't share anyways. But if I could unwrap that a little bit and have a greater, better understanding of what he did and the people, the soldiers around him did, because it's history to me. It's just history. But yeah, I do know he was shot several times on Okinawa, and obviously he lived, but just I didn't have an understanding of it. So I would like to have a cup of coffee with my grandpa at this age and hear that story in better detail. So thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So with that, we're going to wrap up. Any last thing you want to share, Jenna, with our folks? No, you're good to go. All right. You're going to do this again?
Sure thing.
All right. Awesome. All right. I'm going to hold you to it.
No worries.
All right. Thanks for now. Thanks everybody for listening to the Morning Route podcast.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Stay up to date with the podcast by following us on social media. Don't forget to subscribe to the Morning Route Podcast YouTube channel.